It's not that I don't do it. I do it. And I'm doing it more now than I ever have before.
But talk about like the risk side of that.
Yeah, so the risk side of that is they don't pay. You know what I'm saying? And they're a problem, now you have to evict them.
Right. Because like you're the new sheriff in town. Like, oh, I never had to do this before and blah, blah, blah. It's like a whole dramatic thing.
Well,
that could happen.
You run into this interesting psychological thing, bro, when you're dealing with tenants. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it does happen. You run into a situation where for the sake of clout is useless. For me.
No, I agree though, because people, you know, they kind of sell their soul, bro. Just try to keep up with the next trend and the next prank, and like
that's not really the business that we're in.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like people are chasing clout in order to monetize clout into a business. We have a business. We don't need to do that's not the business that we're in.
Yeah.
Like we have a business behind us already. What we're doing is we're backing into it with the business. So the only reason to do this is to build a strong community and to utilize the relationships that we make from doing this to build our business even bigger.
Right.
It's not to create attention for the sake of attention.
Nah.
Attention for the sake of attention is not necessary or useful.
Yeah, there's no value in that.
I mean, we know we've talked about mutual people that we know that had the wrong type of attention. How'd that work out for them?
For real.
All right.
Yeah, it could get ugly quick.
It gets super ugly
behind bars.
Super quick. Yeah, we don't want to. That's not. We want to focus on the right thing. We want to focus on building a great business and utilizing this platform in order to create a network of people that are like-minded, that want to build their life. They want to do positive things. They want to be investors. They want to be in real estate. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the.
It has to be a positive direction, bro.
I think that's the usefulness of this. Anything other than that, it's just like, why would we do that? There's a business already behind. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a purposeless endeavor to do anything else for me.
Yeah, man, it's very interesting because, like, you know, in this day and age we live in, bro, you can create your own space, your own show, right? Everything else was gate kept. You know, Elvis had to go out and prove himself to radio shows, and you had to follow their guidelines. Yeah. Now, as an artist, like, you could put stuff out on SoundCloud, Spotify, right? Now, of course, you have to move correctly to really pop off, but you can use your own merit to create something dope and really spark that flame and then feather that. And it applies all in business. In the social media day and age we live in. It's very interesting.
The internet is perfect for niches. It's perfect for niches.
Right.
Like in a world where you had networks controlling what was on the air, what was on the radio, what was on the TV, what was on the news, what was they decided what was available for consumption and what wasn't.
Right.
You have a different scenario now. Now you can create content in a niche space like what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is not mainstream content, bro.
Right.
We're not out here talking about the daily news. We're not talking about, like, you know, stuff that's trending. We're not talking about the red guys or the blue guys. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about investing in real estate. We're talking about a subcategory of investing, a subcategory of investing, which is real estate, a subcategory of that, which is wholesale,
like off market,
and
right.
off market. Like, it's subcategory after subcategory, and every time you hit a subcategory, you stream down, you filter the amount of people that are interested in those categories.
That's very true.
Yeah, but again, the internet is perfect for that. Social media is perfect for that because people latch on to those people.
Right. You build your own community.
Yeah.
Like-mindedness.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, guys. Another episode of the Hustleman Show. Talk about some more niche things in real estate off market. Man, we've been giving out a lot of real experiences, real game. You know, creative finance, how to handle contractors, right? How to fix and flip, slow flip, Like just check out the catalog, man. You know, if you really pay attention and apply that, you'll see money coming into your bank account. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, how new you are. You know, no one was born a real estate investor. You build yourself up to that point.
You craft that skill over time.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I'm always crafting.
Absolutely.
You always got to keep on crafting, bro.
The next craft for us personally,
Right,
is more of a buy and hold, Section 8, right, rental play.
where the real wealth is, honestly. What'd you say?
There's ridiculous amounts of wealth in that.
Right.
Ridiculous. And there are people really knocking that down right now.
Right.
You know, in certain markets.
Because you don't build wealth by selling necessarily. You build income.
So you when you sell a deal, right? So like there's benefits to being a wholesaler. You generate capital that you can use to invest, right? Which is great. If you don't have that capital, you need that capital to invest in long-term assets, long-term holding. But the problem with selling a deal, once you have a deal, is you're losing the appreciation on that deal and you're losing the depreciation on that deal. So you're giving up a lot of value by selling it. You're selling the deal, you're getting money in return for the deal, but then you lose out on whether or not that property appreciates. And then you also lose out on what? The tax benefits.
Yeah.
So the write-off, reducing that tax liability. So you're not building a strong portfolio by just taking one approach.
Right.
I think it's important that people, they got to get their money up and they got to do what they got to do in order to get to that level. And they got to deal with their responsibilities and stuff. And I think buying and selling, there's transactions and you get a little bit of profit on each one of those transactions. And you got to do that for a certain amount of time to put yourself in a position where you have that capital.
Absolutely.
But once you have that capital, maybe you're not going out and buying the fancy thing. Maybe you're investing in real estate that buys you the fancy
Absolutely.
thing.
Delayed gratification, man.
Yeah.
And I saw that for my life again. Like when I started, I was broke, maxed out credit cards, all that stuff. I spoke about my story before, but I use wholesaling as a tool, and I still wholesale to this day. For the record,
you were broke, but you weren't broken.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You were broke, but you weren't broken.
Yeah, it was a temporary position I was in. Mm-hmm. So I used that cash I was generating from wholesaling. I led that into buying real estate with my brother here, Mohammed, and we have more long-term passive income. Now, again, it's slow flips. It's great. It's passive income, but at some point it runs out because technically it's sold. We're the bank. It's an amazing strategy, but it should be like the only thing you should do, right? Now, my long-term play was always to have rental properties. Look, I spoke to sellers, right? Like right after the '08 crash, I'm speaking on the phone like, yeah, I bought this piece of land and I built the house. I bought the land for $800. I built it for whatever X amount of dollars. And like the Outer Banks, for those familiar in North Carolina. So you can, like, what I'm saying is, when you own that piece of real estate, you don't know what that market is going to do for the better in the future, bro.
Nah.
You can have Intel drop a manufacturing chip near your neighborhood that you've owned properties in.
Which happened in Columbus, Ohio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Elon Musk could drop a You don't ever know that. So that appreciation aspect, that potential for the future, man, is unrealized gains. It's amazing. Yeah. So I say that to say I kind of went up to a rant, but I use that cash flow, that cash to lead into temporary cash flow. I'm now using that fix up my credit. My credit is where it needs to be currently, and I have liquid I'm sitting on. So why not put that more into long-term holds in real estate? That's the logical move. That's the real wealth.
You gotta look at, we look at our investment strategy as like a multi-pronged approach. You have your long-term holding, you have your short-term transactional funding, which is your wholesale, your sales, your flips, right? There's a long-term holding play, which is your rentals. There's a land deal play, which is like a sub area, which is one of the dopest parts, I'll be honest, between selling and not selling. You create residual income without the liability. If you guys are interested in that video,
like seller finance and stuff.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in the video about slow flips, there's a video in this playlist that'll take you through the 10 steps of getting into slow flipping. And then once you're comfortable and you're in a position where you could take on a flip and you have the boots on the ground, the contractors, you have the knowledge, you understand the market, you know what a good deal looks like. Yeah. The next logical step is to take down a deal. So why don't we take the viewers through a step-by-step approach to taking down a deal?
Being a landlord.
Yeah, being a landlord.
Buying holds.
Yeah.
So just to give context, you've done it here in Jersey.
Yeah.
You flipped, you know what I mean? You've bought and hold. You still have properties paying you every single month.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. it's a spectacular thing.
How long you been a landlord for here in Jersey?
Oh, man. Over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have property management or?
I'm the property manager.
Because you're local.
I'm the property manager because I'm local, but I don't want to be the property manager.
So how'd you navigate that?
So, we'll talk about this in the list.
Yeah, I might be jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah. on the property management side, you want to fire yourself at some point. You want to figure out how to fire yourself from positions.
Right.
And I think that having that mindset, it helps you navigate your investment strategy.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy that's answering calls about a toilet in 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be the guy that's answering calls. I mean, when you're a property manager, bro, it's a thankless job. Like, I'll just be honest with you. All your job is to deal with problems.
Yep.
And the problems never end.
They don't.
Nah. Because you're always going
to get clogged.
Something's going to go down. And it's always going to be the worst timing on when it happens.
Right.
So
it's really how you identify yourself, right? Like, I don't want to be a tired landlord. I want to be an investor.
Yeah.
And with that comes with systems, and that's what we're gonna break down right now. So
I think let's start with the list, and then we'll circle back to why firing yourself from certain positions is important.
Right.
Because if you're doing those things, you can't concentrate on the things that you can be great at and the things that you should be doing.
That's true.
So why don't we let's start from one.
Yeah,
right?
man.
The commandments.
So it's a big country. There's landlords all throughout Colorado, Mississippi, Jersey. There's probably some stuff in Alaska for all I know. How do you choose a market, right? How does one person I want to be a landlord. I want to create passive income and hold on to long-term wealth. How do I choose that area?
Yeah. So for me, I was an investor in New Jersey. I live in the state. So I know what the return on investment in the state is.
Right.
And I know where the capital is best utilized, where the best return on investment is.
Right.
So I look at cities in the state, in New Jersey, as great rental portfolio plays.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where real estate taxes are low, where it's a renter city, where it's a very strong rental market, where there's a good Section 8 community there.
Right.
Where there's a hope of appreciation, there's a hope of the properties moving in a direction where there's valuations that are going to go up, where you have a nice overlap of appreciation, Section 8, rental, like a rental area, and their ROI is great. Like you don't want to be sitting here buying rentals, getting 3-4% a year on your money, and you locking up all this money. The cost of acquiring the property is high. You're not receiving much benefit from it.
Right.
You're dealing with the property the maintenance. That's where you get the tired landlord.
Yeah.
When people don't think about why they're buying a rental.
Yeah.
You're buying a rental as a cash flow play.
Right.
Not to give yourself another job.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So
but also another thing, like understand the landlord tenant laws in your particular county, right? Is it more tenant leaning, like meaning if you went to courts for a non-paying tenant, is a tenant going to have more favor over you? Like you need to understand these things before you buy that first rental.
So picking that market gets you, you should take into account what the local laws are about tenancy. The red states versus the blue states in terms of who's better at what and handling tenancy law.
Because evictions are part of the game. Like it's just part of the business. So you should understand how that's conducted in that particular county.
Yeah. So the way that I would choose a market, and the way that I am choosing a market right now, is I'm looking for markets where I'm going to get the best ROI. I'm going to get a good Section 8 community. I understand my boots on the ground are in the area. My inspectors are in the area. I understand the market well, and I know what it is that I expect to get out of that market.
Right.
Low taxes.
Right. That's
low taxes. Yeah, because that's part of your cost.
Even tax abatements too, man. There's some bonuses.
Absolutely.
Out there. Yeah.
So a perfect area would be, there's Detroit Metro is a good area for this. I think Erie. Right. Erie, like Pittsburgh. There's some good areas in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Ohio. There's a lot of good areas in Ohio.
Wisconsin. Milwaukee type, the
uh,
Midwest.
Savannah.
Yeah,
You
I
have
would like to personally check that out.
yeah, you have a good renter community in Savannah.
Okay.
Florida, you got good tenant laws. You know, the only thing with Florida is you got the insurance issue.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you got to also take
hurricane.
into account the insurance issue.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
Insurance is real, and from my perspective, right, like this is something new. Like my chapter 1 was wholesaling, chapter 2 was being the bank. My chapter 3 is now being a landlord. So for me, you know, I've been in this business for like a little bit over 2 years now, and this is not obviously something I just jump right into. I've been wholesaling to out of state buyers often, Cali, local buyers, right? I understand what they're seeing, right? How property management looks like, their experiences of buying and holding in that particular market. So having the experience as a wholesaler is, you know, is now leading me to currently where I'm at of how to really break this down and be a landlord in that particular city. So my advice for anyone that's brand new, like if you feel like you're not ready, that's fine. There's many ways you could monetize in real estate first until you get to that point. But
There's no reason to jump into becoming a landlord, bro.
yeah,
There's other ways to make money in real estate.
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You could be a realtor, you could be a wholesaler, you can be there's so many ways to
A loan
to do
broker.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a landlord. I think when you become a landlord, being a landlord makes it easier to create wealth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because wealth is created on the hold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've never met anybody that's ever told me that they didn't regret selling a property. Like I've always met investors that were like, man, I really regret selling this property or selling that property. Like I always hear that from people. Yeah. Like, damn, I should have held that one. Damn, I should have held that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard it too, bro. Like
it's ownership, man.
Yeah, I feel like that if you want to create wealth, you got to get into that mindset.
For sure.
And there's only so many deals you're gonna pass up and wholesale to somebody else that you're gonna look at later on and be like, yo, man, I should have taken that down.
Yeah, it gets to a point like your market just increases with valuations. Yeah. Like people are flipping more. Like I've seen it in my market, right? Like I was picking up houses way cheaper. Like it's still relatively cheap, but I'm picking up like 4 bedrooms, like 14 grand, not too bad condition. That's not really something we see quite often. I mean, we do because we're really good at what we do. Yeah. Direct to seller off market. But there's some investors that only buy on market and they've been seeing an increase and they kind of get priced out in some of the markets. So yeah, man, you know, get in when you're ready for sure, but take advantage of it. Just understanding your numbers. That's the next thing we're about to get into. So you chose your market. Let's talk about the numbers, right?
Yeah, let's do that. So how do you know if the numbers make sense on a deal? So you identify your market. That's step one in creating a rental portfolio. Where do you want to invest? You want to be a local landlord or do you want to be an out-of-state landlord? By the way, people making that jump to out-of-state landlord is a tough jump.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people are comfortable. Like sure. we both have mutual friends that are damn good investors.
Yeah.
When you talk about out-of-state, they're like, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't blame them, honestly, bro. Like, you buy a house, you don't even know what's happening. You can't pull up on it. I mean, you have to pay someone to go check it out, but it's not you physically there. So I get it. Like, we're just, I guess, a little bit more risky with it. It comes with risk, man.
Look,
what would you say?
Yeah, let me answer that for you. There's a different mindset that comes with being an out-of-state investor. You have to be comfortable as an out-of-state investor creating systems and processes in order to manage things from a distance. And some people are not good delegators. They don't delegate well. So because they don't delegate well, they don't find the property manager, the inspector, the boots on the ground. Like they just get frustrated with dealing with people and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna just do this myself. What being an out-of-state investor does is it forces you to think in terms of systems and processes.
You're forced to run it like a business. Which you always should.
Yeah, but some people run a business as a owner-operator.
Right.
Not everybody runs a business delegating.
Like a single person piece of shop.
Exactly.
So you ran multiple businesses at this point. So a lot of that trends, like you know how to delegate tasks properly. And
doing out-of-state investing without a system is impossible.
You can't scale without a system.
Yeah, it's impossible because there's too many variables.
Right.
You're gonna have you don't know what the property looks like. You don't know what the condition of the property is. You need to do a scope of work. You need to rely on contractors. You're not going to be there every weekend, not going to, open up the door, making sure things are done. You got to know, like, how am I going to get this done?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think you identify your market, identify how what kind of personality are you? Are you comfortable dealing with out of state? Do you want to deal with in state? Maybe you do a few in state first, make some money on them. Maybe you don't make the ROI that you want, but you learn the mistakes.
Right.
And then you understand how to set up a system, and then maybe you do something out of state.
For sure. So yeah,
The numbers. Yeah.
ROI, right? So if you're putting money out, what am I getting in return?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's the point otherwise?
What does ROI stand for?
So return of investment.
Yeah.
Right. So this is, I guess, give an example. So you find a great deal, you buy it from Kareem and Mohammed, right? It's a 3-bed, 1-bath. You know, let's just say you bought it for 40 grand. ARV after repair value is probably like 110. So it's some meat on the bone. And let's just say you got a quote from your contractor needs another 20 grand. It's a great deal. So you think, I guess it depends on if you're using lending or cash. I guess in this case, let's just say you have a lender. So you bought it for the 40. You put another, what was my numbers?
Are you using a lender or are you not using a lender?
I'm trying to think.
So if you're using,
I'm probably complicating the example too much.
Yeah, let me help you out on this one. So let's say you're using a lender.
Right.
Really, if you're using a lender, what you're most concerned with is what is your out of pocket. What is your cost of getting into the deal?
Your liquid cash.
And what is your return on investment on your money?
Right.
Minus what? Minus holding costs.
Yep.
So for example, let's say you have a deal and you expect to make $1,000 a month minus all of your expenses. Let's say you got $1,000 a month. Let's say you invest $10,000 into this deal. You're making $1,000 a month on this deal. That's an amazing return.
For sure.
Your return on investment is like 10% a month. It's like amazing, right? So you really want to look at the deal in terms of what your out of pocket is. What is your out of pocket? What is your overall net return on investment?
Right.
Net. And you take that net, and that becomes your ROI versus what you put out of pocket.
Right.
After debt servicing.
Yeah, so you get your gross monthly, and
Yeah.
you pay your taxes, property management, insurance, like things like that, and now you're making net $1,000 a month. Let's just say it's like a great duplex.
What we should do is we should create an XLS.
I think
spreadsheet.
seeing the numbers,
Yeah,
on a sheet would be great.
and post a link for this XLS. Phil, we should help people out in terms of this, and let's get some kind of formula that they can use in order to figure out what their ROI on a rental property is.
Right.
All right, and we'll add that in the description, a link in the description for this video.
Absolutely.
All right, that'll help you understand what your return on investment needs to be on a deal, and understanding your ROI helps you figure out whether you have a deal or you don't have a deal in terms of rental. A key rule of thumb for me, if I'm investing out of state, I need to see over 12%.
Cash on cash return.
I need to see over 12%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm taking a risk by going out of state. I'm dealing with something remotely. I need that minimum 12%.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'd like to see even more than that. Honestly, I'd like to see over 15.
Yeah.
And in certain markets, you can get
Yeah,
even
most
higher.
of my deals that we sell is like well over 15% cash on cash return.
Yeah.
So it means like year over year, you're getting 15% of your money back that you invested.
Yeah.
And you're going to clear that, and it's going to get to a point it's infinite cash flow. It might take you 3 years to see a profit technically, but then you hold the house for 15 years, and then boom, 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 there's a new company in the area. Now all the values just skyrocket, and you can refinance at that point or sell it. You just rinse and repeat that process, man.
So a good rule of thumb is the 1% rule.
Okay.
Earning 1% on the money that you've put out on this deal, minus all debt servicing. If you end up with 1% of your money back a month, typically that's a good deal. In state.
Per month.
In state. Out of state, you want it to be a little higher.
Because it's more risk, so you want higher returns.
Yeah, you want a minimum of 12%. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
In state, out of state, you want a minimum of 12%.
I see. That makes sense.
And then, I would say once you understand your market, you understand your numbers, you gotta really know what you're buying.
In terms of condition wise, and
I think people struggle with that, right?
Yeah.
An inspector is not an inspector. Inspectors are not the same, bro. Like everybody's not created equally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have people that are great at their jobs, and you have people that are not great at their jobs, and that's just what it is.
Yep.
And when you're doing a purchase out of state, you really you gotta lean on these guys.
Yeah.
You gotta really know what it is that you're buying.
Yeah.
So when you're sending out an inspector and they're going out, you got a good deal on the inspection. They're only charging you $100 to do an inspection, but the photos look like shit, and you can't even see what you're trying to buy.
Yeah.
There's a fire damaged property. The guy doesn't even take a picture of the fire correctly. So you can end up with a big problem if you're going with the cheapest guy. You want to get yourself, when you're doing an out of state or in state, really finding an inspector that you can work with that can get into the property and really give you a layout of what problems you're expecting to have with it. That could save you so much money in the long run.
Yeah, like you said, we had a couple deals like that recently. Like, you can't budget for what you can't see.
Absolutely.
So if they're leaving out very important things,
it makes your job impossible, bro. Like bro,
bro, why are you taking a picture of the trash can? Like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Like, can I see the beams, please?
So an example that we're going through right now is we sent an inspector out to a couple of deals of ours in Ohio. The guy takes photos. The photo quality is not great.
Lackluster.
Right? Like, just not, there's nothing, the guy just doesn't understand how to take photos. He doesn't understand what his purpose of being on that property is. But that's a different conversation. We end up having to send another guy. You know, my position is send somebody else, pay for it twice. Pay for the problem. We made a mistake, no problem. We gotta resolve that.
It's worth it.
It's definitely worth it because you gotta know what you're buying.
Your due diligence period is super important, bro.
How are you supposed to run your numbers on rehab if you don't know what it is that you're buying?
Right.
So by sending out another inspector, we incur another cost, but you know what? It's worth it. Mm-hmm. The other guy we sent out, amazing inspection report.
Yeah.
Like, he wrote us like a book. He sent us like an amazing report. So now we got our guy. We got somebody that we're even happier with.
Yeah.
And I think we can use him for a lot of things moving forward.
A lot, for sure.
So understanding what it is that you expect to do. What are you getting? You know, when you buy that property, what is the condition of the property? That's the only way you can run you're not gonna know what to do.
Yeah, and understand, like, what does that title look like? Is that title dirty? Right? Like, you see it a lot with off market. Now, of course, you want to be buying it on a warranty deed with insurance in that deed. Be careful quick claiming. You know, there's some people that do it. Just understand what you're getting into. Make sure you really vet the title out of that property. That house could be beautiful, but there's a $200K IRS lien attached to it that you now incurred. You know what I mean? You got some issues now.
How you buy, what you're buying is your inspection. Your due diligence period is your inspection for the property and inspection for the title.
Yep. And
confirming if you have a clean title and confirming whether or not you're buying a property with repairs that are acceptable for what you're paying for the property.
Right. 1,000%. Oh, also, like, talk about, do you buy tenant occupied properties? If so, what do you do in that case?
Yeah, tenant occupied is tough, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just keeping it a buck. When you're buying a tenant occupied property, you really don't know what you're getting with that tenant.
Right.
Typically, when a landlord is selling a property with a tenant, they're usually selling the property with a tenant for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes you get lucky.
I think we have a good deal like that right now. It's like a good family staying there. We're going to inherit.
Yeah, we're buying something right now with a tenant. Right. Also, we're buying something with a tenant here, and then we got another deal that we're working. And we just bought a property in Jersey with a tenant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that I don't do it. I do it. And I'm doing it more now than I ever have before.
But talk about, like, the risk side of that.
Yeah, so the risk side of that is they don't pay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're a problem, now you have to evict them.
Right. Because, like, you're the new sheriff in town. Like, oh, I never had to do this before and blah, blah, blah. It's like a whole dramatic thing. Well, that could happen.
You run into this interesting psychological thing, bro, when you're dealing with tenants. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it does happen. You run into a situation where somebody thinks because they have tenancy, they somehow have
ownership. They
think they have a little bit more ownership of the situation than they do. And I think what you do to mitigate that thinking initially is you just lay down the law. And you say, like, look, if you didn't have a lease, now you're gonna have one.
Right.
We're requiring you to have insurance, a lease. You set your parameters early, and if they're going to be a problem, they're going to let you know immediately.
Yeah.
So you can react. So I think by doing that, you mitigate some of that tenancy issue.
When we met early on, like, you had a good analogy with his, like, you know, buying a house vacant, you know, it needs a lot of work, but, like, fixing a house is, like, straightforward. Like, okay, cool, the foundation's messed up, jack it up on one side. Like, you've done these type of things before. But you don't know if this tenant is doing some illegal stuff in the house. You know, this cops busting in the doors.
And you're responsible as a landlord.
You're the owner, bro.
You have a legal responsibility.
Yeah. Now the city's on your back because it's a nuisance charge. They're burning trash in the backyard. Like, people are complicated. So you can buy a complicated situation that you probably have debt on that's carrying costs. What if they decide to stop paying you? They stop the access to the house that has issues. Now you're just cashing out money still in this mortgage, paying the taxes, insurance, and all that, and you're dealing with a long, strenuous eviction process.
I think without talking yourself out of the situation, you know what I'm saying? Because you can quickly start giving all the reasons to not do something. It's important that people understand all the risks, but also understand that for every problem, there's a solution.
Oh, for sure.
You buy a property, you're not happy with the situation, you could always sell.
You always sell. What I like to do is like, okay, Mr. Seller, here's two offers. Here's an offer with the property being delivered vacant if there's a problematic tenant. Here's my second offer, which is super low if I'm inheriting this problem.
Yeah.
You just need to know these things.
You bake the cost into the cake.
That's it, bro.
Yeah.
Just understand what
I
you're
like
walking
that
into.
better. I like that better. So we talked about vetting the property. We talked about inspecting the property, knowing what you have, right?
Talk about how important it is to have a good lender on your side.
Oh my God. Oh my God, bro. Listen, yo, one of the most underrated, like I'm gonna circle this shit.
With the JFK pin.
Definitely. Thank you, JFK. I'm circling this shit. That's how important this is. People underestimate lenders. Lenders are not your partners. I'll say it again. They're not. Lenders don't become your partner until you make them your partner. A lender is a sub that you're working with. That sub could go crazy.
Like a subcontractor.
A subcontractor. You're working with them in order for you to have, a goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But their goal is not your goal.
What's their goal?
Their goal is to make money any way that they can. That doesn't mean you make money. That means they make money.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Especially hard money lenders. Hard money lenders and DSCR lenders, they're savages out here, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking savages. So you gotta really shout out to the good lenders too. There's lenders that we're working with right now. I think we have a handful of lenders that we're working with right now. I feel pretty good about the way the situation's going. But you could get a lender that's an obstacle. So put yourself in this situation. You go out and you get a hard money loan with a lender. The lender drips the money, and by dripping the money, it holds up the work. By them holding up the work, they drag out the loan. They are the beneficiaries of dragging out that loan.
So they drip the rehab money through the draw process.
So when you get a hard money like bridge loan, there's two aspects to that loan. There's the money that they come to the table with
to purchase
the house, and then there's a rehab budget. Yeah. That rehab budget is incredibly important that it's systemized. Right? That those draws they get hit quick.
Right.
Because if they're not systemized and quickly dispersed, they're holding the work.
Because it just for the audience, you have to put the money up front for certain like rough plumbing, rough da.
Yeah.
And you're expecting that next day, like, all right, cool, I paid this. Here's my receipts.
The rehab.
You're expecting that money to come right back.
The rehab. You do the rehab, then they reimburse you. They don't give you the money and then you do the work.
Yeah.
You do the work with your money. Then they come in and say, what work have you done? Let's send an inspector out. And then they decide how much of that money to give you. Yeah.
It's tough, man.
So for example, you have lenders that you can request $20,000, $30,000 as a draw, and they'll turn around and send you $7,000. And you're like, are you guys all right? So working with a lender is incredibly important, man. They can really hold you up, bro.
I want to add something there too. Like that's just one layer of it, right? So say you're doing like phase 1 of a rehab, but you don't know how to manage contractors. So you pay money cash to this contractor with a promise, paid up front and 100%. Like, yeah, bro, I got you, bro. And he just ran off of your money. So now you just lost the money up front. The work is still not done. And now you're paying a hard money loan every single month.
Congratulations. You have a problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem.
This is real life, bro.
It's real life. And if you don't know how to navigate that water and mitigate those risks, you know what I'm saying? There's some risks involved. Look, there's no better way that I know of. Like there's probably somebody going to be here talking about crypto and other stuff. Fine. That's not an area that I'm not aware of that. Like I'm not well versed on that. Yeah. I got crypto coin and shit like that. Like we all buy and sell that stuff. Yeah. But that's not an area where I see wealth being created. I see wealth being created in holds. That's where I see wealth being created.
Owning the dirt.
Owning the dirt, man, and long owns. Not like long-term ownership. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like you own the property 5-10 years. you saw appreciation, and now you're refining out of that appreciation, or you're selling that property, you're making a profit. So working with the lender is incredibly important. You got to find the right lender to work with. You got to figure out whether or not you're bringing your own money to the table, or you're bridging that loan and then DSCRing out of it. A good rule of thumb with a lender is check their reviews. If you have friends, investor meetups, ask them who they're working with. You know, a lot of people are giving with the information.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can find a lot of lenders out there if you ask the right people.
And it's your job to ask the right questions when you speak to these lenders. That's a big one, for sure. The
lender situation is a big one. It's one of the most important aspects. Like, if you're going to go through this list and there's one that you're going to start, it's the lender.
And that's why, like, partnering with you, bro, is amazing. Yeah. Like, I've never done this yet.
Yeah.
But, like, you've been through it with lenders. You've been through it.
Oh, I've been through it.
You know the questions to ask, how to handle it.
I've been through it.
That's why my man smoking cigars, right?
I've been through it, not on one project. I've been through it on like a dozen projects.
Simultaneously.
Yeah. At the same time. So I'm dealing with all these problems with these lenders.
I couldn't imagine.
You know, God is good.
Salute, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So okay, you bought your fixer-up property. You know, you found a great deal. You fix it up. You got the right lender. You're happy. Boom, boom, boom. And you're buttoning it up. You're wrapping it up. You're finishing that rehab. Now you need that property is still vacant. You need that to start generating income. So let's talk about vetting out tenants.
So when you're, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
When you're done renovating that property, you want to get a CO. You want to get your inspections done. You want to get your permits pulled.
The CO for the people.
Certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
Every state has a different CO process. Once you get your CO, then you can actually have people living in the house.
You have a product that you can.
Then you have a product that you can house somebody in legally. So once you have that CO, then you can qualify a tenant and get the right tenant to live in the house and pay you.
Right.
Just because you have a tenant doesn't mean you're going to get paid. And just because you have a paying tenant doesn't mean they're profitable. A tenant can be paying you and destroying your house. A tenant can be paying you and calling you every month about some bullshit. And I think people have to understand this. You're not in business to own rentals to create more work for yourself. You're in business to create, like, you sat there, renovated a house. It's been renovated. You spent the money to do this. So, like, you're expecting a tenant to pay you and to have the least amount of problems. And you need to make that clear. I make it clear with my tenants. This is a passive investment strategy for me. I'm not looking for somebody to be high maintenance.
Right.
I think that's important to understand.
Kind of set the tone.
Yeah. I think if you're an investor, this is what you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're producing a good product, you have the right to ask for that.
Right. A safe, clean property.
Yes.
You know?
So if they're causing a lot of problems, they're damaging the property, that's not a profitable situation.
So talk about your lease agreements.
Your lease agreements is so important. You know, in our lease agreement, we have a deductible. So we'll come in and repair something, but you're gonna pay up to $150.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
I never heard of that before.
Oh yeah.
So okay,
that
give me an example of that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so like when you walk the property, everything's in working order.
Right.
We give you an opportunity to walk the property to
document, record. All
we take photos of everything. You walk the property. You're comfortable with the property. Everything is working.
Right.
I'm not talking about when you move in, something's not working. We'll resolve that.
For sure.
I'm not talking about a roof leak. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
We'll resolve that. Or like normal mechanical issues.
Right.
We will resolve that. But I'm talking about like you damaged a wall, you're paying for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You damaged the door, your security deposit is paying for that, or you're paying a deductible to resolve.
You ever see like your tenant fix it up, like maybe made a mistake or something, and they'll just
I just had a tenant leave a property and they left it better than they got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about the people.
There's amazing tenants out there.
For sure.
Yeah. So you just want to set the expectations that this is a business, and you know you're not looking to be. I'm not trying to have 100 calls from one property. Right. That doesn't make sense as an investor.
So some of these areas, man, that we flip contracts in are rough areas.
Yeah.
So typically comes like a certain like type of tenant, so to speak.
You know
How do
what?
you mitigate that?
Yeah. You know what, dude? That.
You think that's a fallacy?
I think people are people, and I think you got to use your deduction, your deductive mind.
Right.
You deduce what kind of person you're dealing with. And the more applicants you have, the more, there's NTN reports, there's like tenancy reports.
Mm-hmm.
You know whether somebody's missed payments,
Right.
you know whether somebody's got bad credit, what their situation is. Just because, let's say you're taking a tenant in a property in a Section 8, they're not even responsible for the they're not responsible for the money,
Right.
but they are responsible for the condition.
Right.
I want to know if they've been evicted.
I mean, yeah, you could report them too.
Well, I'm gonna run an NTN report on them. Regardless.
What's the NTN exactly?
It's a national tenant network report. So I want to know if they've been evicted, if they have like a criminal background,
Right.
What their credit score is. It's not even like they're not paying for the rent, but that tells me a lot about them. And I want to have a conversation with the tenant.
Right.
And I want to know.
How do you do that out of state?
You talk to them. It's called FaceTime.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's called have a video conference. How do you talk to a seller of a property?
But how do you prevent having those annoying calls in the middle of the night?
You
they already have your personal number. So.
You can't go into this thinking that you're not, like, being a landlord means certain responsibilities.
That's true.
And if you don't have a property manager managing your property, you have to deal with those problems.
That's true.
That's it.
Yeah,
somebody got to deal with those problems.
Yeah.
So it's either your property manager deals with it, or you deal with it.
Right.
So I think the problem becomes when you don't have enough rentals to make it worthwhile for you to hire, like, to get a property.
Right.
But you can find a property management company to take like 6 to 10% of the gross.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They'll take 6 to 10% and deal with the problem.
Everything's negotiable in life for sure.
Yeah.
But that's a good point to, like, you own that property. You're an investor, so you have the leverage. So if there's a high demand for tenancy in some of these markets,
you pick the right one.
Right. It's part of your process. Okay, cool. What's your social? What's your credit? What's your NTM report? You run a background check. If you don't, then I don't want you in here. That's just. But you still being fair. But you gotta vet. You gotta vet them out.
You gotta vet your tenants.
Gotta vet them out.
Because at the end of the day, this is a business. You're looking for the most passive way to earn an income.
Yeah.
You're not looking to deal with problems. That's just what it is.
I know investors that pop up on their current living conditions. Like,
that's a move. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Let me see your kitchen real quick. Like, how do you keep this place?
I know investors do that, and I know investors that call not their current landlord, their previous landlord.
Yeah, because I have nothing to gain to lie.
Yeah, so you reach out to their previous. Like, I just had a tenant reach out to me about a property, and they listed somebody I bought a house from. So I looked up that name. I'm like, damn, I bought a house from this person. I hit her on a text, and I said, how are these people? She was like, they're great.
Wow.
So like that, I lucked out on that one.
That's dope.
But you don't know. You have to look.
That word of mouth.
You're dealing with out-of-state tenants. You're going to be doing volume in rentals. You have to have a process for vetting tenants and understanding what they are.
Yeah, you run a business, man, because you become a tired landlord real quick. You be getting called from us.
You're a tired landlord because you don't have a process in place.
Right.
There's people doing 100 doors, 500 doors, 1,000 doors. They're not tired landlords. They're called hedge funds. They're not tired landlords.
Systems and processes.
Yeah. So that I don't think going into it thinking about the tired landlord mentality is going to yield you the result that you want.
Right.
I think you have to go into it looking at this like, how do I scale this to 100, 500, 1,000 doors where this situation makes sense, where I'm not doing, like, I could fire myself as a property manager.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And there's some local landlords, man, like they'll have a few deals that lock in for the year and like they're cash flowing because they manage their own properties, they vet it out. So like there's no right or wrong way of going about this. It's like whatever process works for you, but just be cognizant of that when you buy that, renovate it, and rent it out. Just understand your exit, man. Cool, man. So you stabilize the property, you have a great tenant, they're happy, it might be Section 8, things like that. What are some like preventative maintenance things along the way? Like how do you keep that property maintained?
The best preventative maintenance you can do is good work in the beginning.
I like that.
Like the best thing that you can do before getting a tenant in the door is resolving the issues with the house. Once you get a tenant in there, now you
can't just bust out of rehab.
Nah. No, you got families living in the house, bro. You can't just be popping up whenever you want.
Yeah.
You got to give them 24 hours notice. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things you got to do as a landlord that you got to be reasonable. These are people living in a home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to access the property. And if you have a major rental to do, that's going to be tough to do with people living in a house.
Yeah.
So everything, all the major issues should be
addressed.
resolved.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you got people that just they slap lipstick on a pig, throw a tenant in there, and they're expecting it to cash flow. That's not gonna work, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No such thing as easy money.
I think when you do the rental correct in the beginning, you burr out of it. You know, within 6 months, you're able to. So you're able to buy the property, renovate it with the bridge loan, and then refinance it,
to get out of the hard money.
Rent it to a tenant, and then refinance it to get out of the loan. Now you have long-term debt on the loan, which is typically a lower rate of interest, and you have payments that are stabilized, and then your rental income comes in. You take a percentage of that money, you pay the rental, you pay the
mortgage,
the DSCR loan off, and the rest is yours.
Right.
Minus repairs.
Right.
So
beautiful.
That's kind of how, that's how I view maintenance. But there's going to be maintenance that you need to do throughout the ownership of the property. If you're not the property manager, let me step back. Even if you are the property manager, sending somebody to repair your property without documenting what the repairs have been done is a mistake. These GCs, they want to go in there, they want to do a job, and they want to ask you for the money. Or these subs, they want to go do a job, they want to ask you for the money. I understand all that, but they need to provide photos.
Yeah.
You need to see what's been done and how it's been done.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people want to do the job not the best way, but the quickest and easiest way. Those two things don't always align, right?
Yeah.
So by you documenting what the work that's been done is, I think having a platform in order to document it, I think there's a few different softwares. One of them is Buildium that you can use to navigate that and store the photos of the repairs that have been done on the property. And then,
and I want to add to that.
And making sure that you understand that if you're a property managing the property, you're accounting for all that. But if your property manager is doing the job and they're hiring the subs, right? You need to be aware of what's the quality of the work that's being done.
Yeah.
You could hire a property manager. There's a problem in doing that. Who are they hiring to do the repairs?
Mm-hmm.
What's the quality of the work that's being done?
Yeah.
It could be poor quality work. You get what I'm saying?
It could be Brad from the back alley just trying to make
Exactly.
a quick dollar. You know what
I'm saying?
And bro, please, this goes for any vendor, contractor. Do not pay them in full before the work is done. I almost lost $2,000 last week paying a vendor because I trusted him, and then weeks later I didn't get the service I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I learned the hard way. Thankfully, we got that money back. But you know that more than anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You've been through it for sure.
Yeah,
so,
I definitely do.
They might require deposits, what's a reasonable amount of money up front, like percentage wise?
0. Nothing.
Do the work first.
Yeah.
And then you'll get paid.
Listen, bro, it depends on are they licensed? Are they not licensed?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
put them on a contract too, man.
Yeah.
Moving
Look, paying
contracts.
people up front to do work, it's a tough situation. I think if they're a licensed person, there's a contract involved. I can understand giving them a deposit.
Right.
They're not going to get a full amount. Try to limit that deposit exposure as much as you can, because when people start getting deposits up front, just because you paid a GC a deposit doesn't mean he's using that money to fund this project.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's using that money to pay off the last 3 projects that he was involved
There's horror stories out there, bro.
Bro, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Crazy, man. People
So-
like contractors run off with the money. Like that's a real. Imagine
Regularly.
you're like, yo, this is $8,000, $11K,
Bro, they don't even
grand
think-
worth of work.
They don't even think about it.
I need $9,000 up front. All right, bet. And bull's gone. You just spent $9,000 and you didn't put it on a credit card, so you can't even get it back. You spent $9,000 liquid, and this man's in the casinos right now.
Literally. They be in the casinos, bro.
Flipping your $9,000.
They be talking about that $9,000 like I'm gonna make this money back on another job that I lost.
Now
Yeah.
you're playing catch up, bro. Like now you're spending money, spending time. You're playing catch up.
Yeah. So maintaining the property is important. Who you choose to property manage is important. Who you choose to do the work is important. You gotta dissect a property manager from the person doing the work. Just because you got a property manager doesn't mean the property manager is repairing the house. They're subbing out the work to people doing the work, and understanding the quality of the work that they're doing. That's the difference between a skilled landlord and not.
Right. There's good property management contractors out there, man.
There are.
Just have
there are.
discernment.
You got to vet them.
you know, one thing I heard is like no one cares more about your money than yourself.
Yes.
Just understand that.
Yes. So we got the property management situation out of the way, right?
Yep.
We got the maintenance out of the way, right?
We spoke about leases already.
We spoke about leases. Make sure your terms are correct. Your late fees, your maintenance, you know, your if there's a deductible, no subletting is a huge one. You know, you can't have anybody you can't be leasing to somebody and you find out 62 of their family members living in the house. That ain't it.
Stressing out the mechanicals and stuff.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah. You know, you putting pressure on the plumbing, man. What are you doing?
Flushing that toilet way too many times, dog.
There's too many cheeks on the toilet, bro. Like, what do you like? Oh, that's too much, man. It's too much, and it happens.
Too many kids.
They sign a lease. They talk about 3 people on the lease. You come back, there's 70 people living in the house.
Whole fiesta.
Like,
bro.
where the hell is this? What is this, an extended party? You know, like, and you got a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I think you know, making sure that there's clear lease issues are resolved. Insurance is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody started balking about the insurance, man. There's renters insurance for a reason, bro. You know what I mean? Like, we make our tenants get a renter's policy.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a fire or something like that, your policy need to cover that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You started a fire type.
Like, yeah. Like, I'm not gonna have you raise my policy on every property.
So if they cause a crazy damage like that, you don't even get your insurance involved.
No, I go after theirs.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Do you sue that company technically? Like,
they file a claim on their insurance.
I see.
When they file a claim on their insurance, the insurance company sends out an adjuster, and we take it from that process.
Okay.
I'm gonna call my insurance company too, but they're gonna have to communicate with theirs and figure it out.
Right.
Because somebody's gonna be responsible.
Yeah.
Between the two policies.
That's smart. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Stuff happens, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, is there a certain budget you keep in mind that they should have allocated?
So it's not a budget. What you do is you make yourself the beneficiary on their policy.
Okay. So you put your LLC as a beneficiary.
Yes. And then you make them have a certain amount of cover. I think we have what, $500,000 on their policies, Phil? Yeah.
Shout out to Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Per incident.
Yeah, per incident. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So they carry, but it's not a lot. It's a few $100 a year.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want nobody to, God forbid.
You're taking a risk, bro. You're taking a risk by having somebody living in your property. Just think about lending somebody your car. Just think about that for a second. There's risks in that.
Yeah.
Now you're lending them a house to live in for a year. There's definitely risks in it.
For sure.
There's no better way that I know about to build wealth than this. But that does not mean that there's no risks.
Yeah.
Understand all of the risks and understand that there's ways to mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
So by having a policy in place and having a beneficiary in place, you put yourself in a less risky situation.
Absolutely.
So setting the clear terms on the lease, all right? Insurance policy, landlord insurance. You know, there's umbrella policies that you can put on as a landlord. There's a policy that you buy for the house, but also a landlord policy that covers you in case things get crazy, all right? Because they can get crazy.
Yeah.
You know, having a good attorney is important. You know
just
what I'm
like
saying?
Evictions and things like that.
Having a good attorney is important. Like you're sometimes you got to get legal with it. Like, what do you like? What's there to say?
There's professional squatters out there, bro. They have no shame. I mean, like, I'm gonna find a way to live in here rent free. And look at some stories in New York and stuff, bro.
Yeah. That ain't house hacking. That's called squatting. You know what I mean? So you by having a good attorney on deck, you really put yourself in a position where if there's a problem, you know. Yeah. Like you tell the lawyer the situation, they send out a letter.
Make it very clear up front, man. And you know, again, understand your tenant landlord laws up front. So somebody can't get over on you. Knowledge is power, bro. It's leverage.
Yeah.
So awesome. Protect your investments, right? We spoke about insurance, things like that, umbrella policies. Talk about slip and falls, right? Let's talk about a little bit of trust.
I mean, there if you're gonna take it a little further, there's legal structure. There's legal ownership structure to protect your investments. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think that's for another episode. Right. I want to go deep dive onto trusts and legal structure.
Yeah.
But
asset protection.
But let's just say that there's liability and exposure to every property by controlling the legal structure of what that entity that owns that property has. You limit your exposure and your risk.
Absolutely.
So We talked about insurance. We talked about, clear lease terms. What else we got here? We got
Expectations to the tenant. We spoke on that. Let's talk about the dope thing, right? Like, okay, cool. You got a stabilized property, making money. How do you scale this up? How do you go live off the beach and anywhere in the world, having that passive income hit every month? How do you scale this?
Colombia.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? we want to live in a beautiful place.
Coming soon.
You know what I mean? We out here. That's the intended goal is to live a great life,
bro. Period. Bro.
Like I don't understand. Like why would you want to do this to not live a great life? Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to live a great life, you want to understand the risks involved. You understand how to fire yourself from certain things, fire yourself from being a property manager, fire yourself from dealing with tenancy. Like property managers handle who comes in and comes out of the property.
Right.
Maybe you let yourself make the final call, but they handle the bulk of it.
Right.
The background checks, they give you all the information. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think the best thing that you can do as an investor is understand how to fire yourself from these positions and create systems and processes in order to get you to a place where you're involved in the day-to-day operations the least amount.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just fine-tuning over time.
Yeah, you're not going to grow to 500 doors, 100 doors, dude, by answering phone calls about toilets. No. I mean, that's not the way this goes.
It's not the best use of your time at that point.
It's just not the way it's going to go, bro.
Right.
You have to be in a place where you have somebody, that helps you carry some of that load.
Right.
Helps you mitigate some of that work.
I know a multifamily investor, and he just has VAs rocking and building them. So you get a call, the VA stays on top of this maintenance request here, there, and there. A virtual assistant, man. They're very affordable assistants to do delegated tasks, man. So being able to delegate that and be a business owner allows you, again, to really leverage your skill sets and your time to probably acquire more partnership deals, syndications, portfolio sales, and buys. Like, that's where we're headed to, man.
If you're great at managing rehabs, should you be dealing with property management? Probably not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's not the best use of your time. If you just put your time into managing rehabs, you do more. If you're great at acquisitions, should you be managing rehabs? Probably not.
Right.
Just focus on the acquisition side. If you're great at dealing with tenancy, should you be handling acquisitions?
No.
Probably not. There's a reason why these jobs, you go deep on these jobs, you acquire certain skill sets. Like shout out to Colleen. There was a Clubhouse episode not long ago where she had somebody on there that was like a master at tenancy. I forget the lady's name, but she was. I learned some stuff from her, man.
I know you're talking.
She's very good.
She's a great creative investor. She does a lot of like tenant buyer type of situations too, like lease backs and stuff.
There was a lot from that episode that I learned on tenancy and how she handles tenancy.
Right.
She does like. She bonuses them out at the end of the tenancy.
Yeah.
She tells them like, if you don't have any problems at the end of this tenancy, I got a check for you.
Right.
Like simple way. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's your deposit back. Plus I gave you another X amount of dollars because you were,
they kept up with the property.
You were a grade A tenant and you qualified for this bonus.
Wow. You
know what I'm saying? And she incentivizes the tenant to act accordingly. Like a lot of investors don't do this. Just an FYI. Yeah. Like they expect that, but they don't. Like you're expected to be a good tenant if you have a lease. But by incentivizing people, I think you can get a little further ahead too.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure. Very interesting.
What did we talk about the difference between having a paid tenant or a Section 8 tenant?
Not really.
Why don't we dive into that?
Versus Section 8.
Yeah, why don't we dive into that?
Let's do that.
Why would it be beneficial to have a Section 8 tenant versus a paid tenant?
Section 8 is a government like housing authority.
Yeah.
And it's recession proof. So if COVID hits, anything hits, people still need a place to live and they qualify for these government housing. So you renovate your property, they have the inspector go out like, okay, this property is approved for like Section 8 essentially.
Yeah.
So now you get paid from the government, not from the tenant. You're not relying on, I just lost my job situation. There's pros and cons to both sides, of course.
If you're dealing in an environment where tenancy, like income is a problem, Like certain
Some
high
areas.
ROI areas, you have income problems, income limitations.
Lack
right?
of jobs, things
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
instability, bro. There's
Yeah.
high unemployment. There's problems.
Yep.
So by having a Section 8 program in that area, you provide housing for people, and it provides safe income for an investor.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come in and renovate the house because they know there's safe income,
Yeah.
and it takes the ownership, like the payment worry, out of the investor's hand.
Right.
So
That's really what we're walking into.
that's what we're walking into.
Yeah. I'm
So
excited for
I
that.
think the next situation for us is we're gonna be doing a lot of Section 8.
Oh yeah.
So
You get paid by the government, man.
why not?
You're delivering a product to them. Like, okay, cool. Here's a bunch of vouchers, they call it.
Yeah.
People that's already qualified. In our market, Toledo, like I think the tenant pays 50%. I think it might depend on
Nah,
the
it's a
deal.
percentage. It's an income based percentage.
Right.
So sometimes the tenant is responsible for a certain percentage. Sometimes they give them a voucher for a certain amount,
Right.
and
I
they'll
see.
pay anything above that amount.
Okay.
So like we just positioned the Section 8 tenant in Atlantic City for an investor of ours. We sold them an AC property, and then we helped them put a tenant in there.
Nice.
Dude, he's making bank on this property.
Wow.
Yeah,
How long was that process dealing with Section 8?
too long. But I think that it wasn't handled well by the tenant. It was one of the first ones that we did,
I see.
so it wasn't handled great.
Yeah.
But we now know some of the things that we need to look for in the tenant. She was waiting on a deposit. Bro, they don't just get Section 8 money. They also get their deposit taken care of too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's programs out there that'll give them their
Oh,
deposit.
shoot.
So like your security deposit is paid for by a different organization.
Yeah.
Section 8 pays for the rent. So they don't even have to come up with that.
My first, not to cut you off, my first wholesale deal, I sold it to like a housing authority government thing.
Yeah,
Made 11 grand.
that's
Like,
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Helped out the tenant, helped out the seller. He was tired of being a landlord. Tenants there, like it was dope.
Yeah, I mean,
programs out
there's a
there.
lot of opportunities in this, a
Mhm.
lot. But going back to that AC property, the numbers on this deal are amazing. So just for for informational purposes, $2,400 a month in
Wow.
income. I think he's
Gross?
he's into the property $150,000.
Okay.
The taxes on the property are like $2,000.
What's his cash to get that loan?
He didn't have a loan. It was he paid for it out of pocket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like let's pull up the numbers on this. So he's pulling in $2,400 a month times 12. He's at 28.8 for the year. He's got like let's say 2,500 in taxes, and let's say 1,500 in insurance. He's at 24.8. Let's take off another 10% for maintenance. So I'm just gonna remove 10% of that gross amount for property maintenance. He shouldn't have 10% of maintenance. He just renovated the whole house.
Yeah.
If you just renovated a house and everything's done correctly,
He's all in 150?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is a great deal for this guy, man. A phenomenal deal. He's a good dude, man. So we're 14.88 in New Jersey, cash on cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for the people who know, how did you get from your NOI, which is your net operating income?
Yeah. So I took the 2,400 for the month and I multiplied it by 12. That gave me a yearly amount of 28.8.
That's your gross year.
That's what he's generating a year. Then I removed 2,500 in property taxes, and then I subtracted another 1,500 for. Hang on. Let's do this again. 2,500 in property taxes, and then I removed another 1,500 in insurance, and then I took out 10% of that gross amount for just for maintenance. So he's got 22,320,
Right.
$22,320, and I divided that by his total investment, which was about 150,000, and he's at 14.88. Not
That's
bad.
a cash for cash for the year.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, think about your bank. What if you put 150 grand in the bank?
Yeah, you're not getting 14.8.
0.0005%.
You're not getting 14.8. Yeah.
So
So he's
that's
making about 15% on his money a year.
Talk about the equity. How much equity he has on there?
Oh, he walked into the deal with equity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the property's worth like 200.
ARV.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's got like
So he
50.
bought renovator for 150.
He bought and renovated total out of pocket 150.
Wow. So he has 50K equity up front.
Yeah.
But now he's cash flowing nicely.
Yeah.
Right. Because like he's no mortgage. So it's just straight cash from cash.
Yeah.
Return.
But he could refi out.
Yeah. Exactly. That's
could-
the beautiful thing about
Yeah,
it.
he could refi out and have no cash into the deal.
That's like
So
a
so he'll be zero cash out of the deal, like no money out of the deal.
Oh yeah, you get a refi.
Yeah.
You pull all his money back out.
Yeah,
Because again, it's going to appraise for 200. The bank give like 75%, 80%
75%,
of that.
75. So he's gonna get 150.
Yeah, I should know that.
So he's got 150 out of the deal. All his money's out of the deal.
Amazing.
So he's got all his money out of the deal. Now he gets $2,400 a month in rent. He takes out his debt servicing, which is the loan.
How much do you think the mortgage is on that?
On a $150,000 loan,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say maybe $1,400,
Okay.
$1,500.
Just generate like 2,500.
Let's say $1,500 be on the safe side. He's
Okay.
generating $2,400. He's gonna be making $500-600 a year on this.
Monthly?
No
a
cap.
month.
Yeah. A month.
A
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Because 900 gross and you back
And
out.
and honestly, I think I'm high on the 1,400.
Word.
Yeah.
So after all maintenance and all, he's probably making profit 500 a month.
At least.
That's amazing.
At least.
Like for a long time.
Yeah. And he's got no cash into the deal.
No cash into the deal.
And every month, his tenant is paying his equity down. He's cash flowing positive. His tenant is paying back the loan. He's got all his money back.
Yeah.
It's a win.
All your
And
money
it's a
back.
Section 8 deal.
So his government's paying him.
Yeah.
So whatever happens to the country.
Dude, his deal is so good that I just signed a contract for another AC deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a
To
deal there
replicate.
because it's so good.
Yeah. That's fire, man.
We sold him the deal. The numbers were so good on the deal. I'm like, damn, this is a great deal.
So if you just keep replicating that,
I mean, bro.
500 a month there, another 500.
So
200.
here's something that people want to be aware of, bro. When you have a Section 8 program in the area that needs housing, the Section 8 program pays well. AC right now needs work. Like, it needs housing.
Yeah.
A lot of these houses are not, there's not a lot of Section 8 available houses. So their vouchers are nice and big.
Yeah. That's so.
Yeah. So by understanding the
like, good
market, you know where to go to make your investment.
Yeah.
So right now we're about to pick up a 3-1 in AC. It's almost turnkey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
For 95. This deal's great.
What's the ARV?
200, 225.
Probably what, 35 worth of work?
Nah.
30?
Maybe 20.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe.
So good equity.
I'm really squeezing it at 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fire, dude.
Yeah. So we have good equity into the deal. We have a beautiful rental amount. It's gonna be about 2,400.
Yeah.
Because he had a 3-1. He got 2,400.
Wow.
Why wouldn't I get 2,400? He's like a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rates just went down not too long ago, right?
The rates are gonna be going down. The likelihood of rates going down is so much higher right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And therefore, with it going down, your cash flow goes up.
So what we're gonna do, just to give everybody the mechanics of this deal, we're gonna buy it off a bridge loan, right? We're gonna buy it as a bridge loan, as a hard money loan. We're gonna get some hard money repair money up front, do the repairs that we need to do, stabilize it, put a tenant in there, and then cash out refi, get it more,
Awesome.
get some money on the exit.
Awesome.
So when we refi, we're gonna be eligible for some cash.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
There's a
amazing.
caveat to that though, and I think people should be aware of it. You don't get to burr out of the deal immediately. You got to wait 6 months before you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had to hold that hard money loan for 6 months?
You got to hold the hard money loans for 6 months before you can burr out of it.
That's for like most refis?
It's what I've seen as an industry norm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I'm learning.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So that's tenancy, bro. That's equity building. That's wealth building. That's rentals.
Yep.
You can't do that with a wholesale.
Yep.
Look, everything
cool
has a
thing
purpose.
But cool thing, you could be wholesaling at the same time. So you're making your quick checks.
The key is not to do one or the other. You can do all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just got to know, this AC deal it's a great deal as a rental. It's not a great deal as a wholesale.
Right.
But when you're in a position that you know how to do the flip, you know how to do the rental, you know how to stabilize the tenancy, you know how to wholesale, you have a nice box of exits
Right.
that a lot of people may not have.
Right.
So, we're fortunate to have
Yeah,
that.
we didn't even touch much on like creative finance on the acquisition side of things, right? Like you could negotiate a creative finance deal with the seller and tell them like, hey, I need 3 months, 4 months of no payments to get this renovated first, get it stabilized, then my payments to you will start kicking in.
So here's another deal that we're working right now in Toledo. We're assuming existing debt, no money out of pocket.
Yep.
We're assuming existing debt on a property in Toledo.
So it's a
Subject to no money out of pocket. We close on the property. Closing costs That's it. Just normal, title closing. And then we take ownership of the debt. That the property doesn't have a lease in place. So we're going to raise the guy's rent to $850. He's currently paying $7. And I think the cost on the loan right now is about $550.
Okay. So
we got about $200-$300 of income just walking into the deal.
Right.
We're not even utilizing our funds to buy it.
Yeah.
Just a couple $1,000s in transactional costs.
Guys, I used to wash cars for $300 a week, bro. Okay. Like, what are we talking about?
That shit really mess your head up, right?
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, we're talking about money. Like, it's not like it's a hobby, sure, but we're here to make money.
Yeah.
And like, if you're that motivated to make money and change your life,
the
information's here.
Yeah.
It's not theory. This is real stuff. It's like reality of it.
Yeah. I think what I want to do, bro, because we're talking a lot about this. I want to let people know that we're going to be doing a lot more visual presentations.
Okay.
And showing you guys the number on a whiteboard or, a marker board. That way you can see visually how we're coming up with these numbers and how we're mechanically coming up with an end result. I want to do two things.
That'd be great,
I want to do two things. I want to create a new playlist for that. And I want to do another one for negotiating deals live. So, I think people want to hear how you're locking up your deals.
Yeah.
I think they want to hear how you're dispoing your deals.
Yeah.
And I think between the two of us, that adds more value. Showing them instead of telling them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
I just went live the other day and people were loving it. You know what I mean? It's like, man, you make it so easy, da da da. I forgot who had this quote. It's like, you sent it to me. It's like, selling is not hard if you're not trying to sell them anything. You're just walking the horse to the water. If they want to drink, they want to drink. Like, I'm not here to convince you to sell your house, bro. Trust me.
Yeah.
I have 15 other people to call. Do you want to sell your house? Yes, I have a problem, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can help you out getting from point A to point B. So that's a whole another thing, right? But that's how it starts, right? Is acquiring a deal.
Yeah.
Don't just fall in your lap. You got to work for it.
No, you got to work for it. So that's 10 commandments of rental properties.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, that was. Anything you want to add to that?
Follow the journey, man. Like I said, I just went on live recently, so you can follow me at KR Direct LLC. I go on live, acquiring deals, selling deals. I'll be documenting our journey of taking down these rentals like all together. We got great, amazing things coming, bro.
Absolutely.
That's all you do.
Absolutely. You can follow. 10,000 subscribers.
Yo,
shout out to the subscribers.
Yeah, where the air horn? You got the horn, bro?
Yes.
Come on, we need some.
Hit the horn.
Where's
man.
it at?
The DJ's on vacation, guys. Jamie's on vacation today.
10,000 subs, man.
10,000
Shout out to you
subs,
guys,
man.
bro. Like, amazing.
Not bad. Okay, so guys, we want to thank you for watching. If you guys are enjoying what we're doing, please hit that sub button. If you like what we're doing, like. If you don't like what we're doing, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Believe me, I'll answer it.
Where can people
I enjoy
find you?
answering it. They can find me on Instagram, SINAN_EASMAEL on Instagram.
Your meme's been hilarious recently on Instagram.
Yeah. I try to make it interesting.
Like, wallahi,
this just got banned.
Yeah. Literally.
DEI just banned this
It's
one.
a wrap.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for watching, all right? That just ended that
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
I just cooked it.
Yeah.